There's something that I left out of this series. It's the bottom navigation view. So in this Kotlin on Android tutorial, we're going to add that to the application. Welcome to Mobile Application Tutorials. My name's Nigel. Okay, so what we're going to do is implement the bottom navigation view. It's relatively recent in the last few years, but it's basically, you can also do navigations. If you've got 3 to 5 items you want to navigate between, it's the recommended way in the Google design documentation of navigating to positions or fragments, etc. Okay, so now here we have my website. You can sign up to get the documentation here and the details of how to get the code from GitHub. The membership is free just to get the documentation. And if we look here, this is number 6, the 6th episode in this series. So if you want to, you can go through all these episodes, or if you just want to look at how to implement a bottom navigation view, you can also get the code to start this tutorial from GitHub. And you'll notice that there's a video there. So we do provide videos for members on the professional plan on how to download and get your project set up. That's provided to them. Okay, so we're going to make a start. So the first step here is to add image icons. So we'll go into our Android Studio project. It's because of the design documentation says you should have between 3 and 5 items. We've only got 3 fragments, so we're going to add another fragment. So click on resources, right click on drawable, click new, click image asset. We'll change this to action bar tab icons. I'll set the theme to hollow dark, and we'll change the action name. My names are not consistent, apologies. I change it to image 3 and select on clip art, and I wonder if I can just do a search on 3 or type the letters 3. Okay, I'm going to use looks 3 there. Select OK. All that looks fine. Select next and select finish. Okay, so next stage here is I want to, is it the fragment menu? So we'll open up our fragment menu that we created in, what was it, the first or the second, maybe the second episode. And we're going to need to add a 3rd item here. So I'm just going to copy and paste there and just do some renaming. So the ID, I'm just going to rename to 3rd image fragment. And the title here, I will change to 2nd image. I will change it to 3rd image actually. We'll have to set contents for that. I'm just going to make something simple here. To get here, I just pressed Alt Enter on a Mac. So I'll just call this 3rd image, just for the contents of that string. And we will need to change our drawable as well. So I'm just going to go to the end there and see if I can get an autocomplete. There it is there, image 3. Okay, so that part there is done. So the next step is to actually add the bottom navigation view to our layout file. So we'll open up our main layout file. It'll be this one down here, activity_main. This is going to need to be put inside our constraint layout that was set up here. So inside, I'm going to put it at the bottom of the constraint layout. And what's it? Bottom So it's Android support design widget bottom navigation view, and the width I'll set to match. Autocomplete's not working at this stage. And the height, I just want to pop across. And if you do a Google search for Android bottom navigation view, it'll bring up this page here. And the example here is showing the layout height set to 5060p. So I'm going to select that for the height as well. It's back into Android Studio 5060p. Just want to tidy that up. Now we'll add an ID. And I'll just call this bottom navigation view. And also have to set the menu there, which will be at menu, menu fragment there. Okay, now because this is inside a constraint layout there, it's best to go into a design tab to set our constraints. Let me just enlarge in this window, and we'll just wait for that to get itself set up. Right, so there's my bottom navigation view. For some reason it's not showing the first image, but that should be okay. Okay, so what I want to do is it's showing at the top here, so I just want to drag this to the bottom. Right to the bottom there. And then we've got to infer constraints for that. And you know, it's that big horizontal line. So it's doing one from the toolbar all the way down. Okay, so let's go back to our text tab. And if we look at the toolbar itself, you can see that it's putting a constraint from the bottom of the toolbar to the top of the navigation view, which is going to help our navigation view stay in position. Okay, so these should be the only changes that we need to make to our for inserting our bottom navigation view to the layout. Now we're going to make a new fragment and a fragment layout file. So I'll do the fragment layout file first, just make a copy of it. So I'm going to need to open up my project drawer. This is the way I tend to do it. And click on layout. I'll click on the second image and select F5 for refactor. And the new name, I'm just going to replace second with third here. Select OK. Right, just got to do a little bit of renaming here. We'll change the ID to third. And good idea to change the name of this fragment bar as well. And that should be fine. I'm just going to quickly check there's nothing else here. Okay, that's fine for our third image fragment. Okay, now we're going to need to do the same thing for our fragment. So if we go into Kotlin fragments and I select the second image fragment, again select F5, and we will change the name to third image fragment, select OK. Right, and it's a good idea to do a search for anything that starts with second here. So if I do a search for second and we change that to third, and we'll just I'll do this manually actually, so we'll change that, the image view, the progress bar, and the layout. And we are seeing these errors here, it's not picking it up. So go into your input where all your libraries are and delete the second image there. And we'll let the IDE press Alt Enter in my case. to add the appropriate Kotlin extension for that. Okay, there's just one other thing I want to do here. I don't want two images to be the same here, so I'm going to replace this image URL. And if we go back to the website documentation up here, and I have posted in examples of where my source code is, but I just want to paste in an address of a different image. I think this one might be quite a big one as well. So I'll test out our glide library. So back into Android Studio, paste that in there. Okay, so we've created our third image fragment plus its corresponding layout file. Now we need to add support for the third image fragment inside our, fragment pager adapter. So we'll click on image fragment pager adapter and change the get count to 3. And let me just make another copy of this. And if we go change 1 to 2 and replace that second image fragment name to third image fragment name. Okay, those should be the only changes we need to make to our fragment pager adapter. Let's go into our main activity now. We'll start work on the select drawer item now. I want to make this generic first of all, because I want this select drawer item, I just want it to be generic to either the drawer layout, if we draw a layout and select the item there, or if we decide to use the BottomNavigationView. So I want to reuse this function basically, but I do need to make a few changes to it. So it's important I change this name just to select item. So, okay, right. I also want this to return the type of Boolean just to save a little bit of extra coding when we call this. This means that we're returning consuming the click listener event. Okay, so we'll need to add, first thing we'll need to add is our third image fragment. So we'll just do it here. Okay, change to F for fragment item, and this is for the ViewPager that sets us, so we'll set the location for the ViewPager as 2. Okay, and because this can either be from the drawer layout or from the BottomNavigationView, we want to check. So if the drawer is open, we want to close it. So we'll do a check here. So if drawer layout is open, and we need to specify the left-hand drawer here. So we can just call start again. And I will reline that. And at the bottom here, I will return true. Okay, so the intention here is this function here will now support item click events from either the BottomNavigationView or the drawer layout. We can use this function for both. We will have an error on our drawer listener layout, so we'll go to that there, and we'll just modify that. It's just to delete the item, delete the drawer, and we don't need to specify true there now. And now we will need to add an item listener to our BottomNavigationView, so we'll do that now. Right, so we'll call the BottomNavigationView and set navigation. We don't want the reselected ones. We want the set on navigation item selected listener. We've got 2 there. We'll go for the Kotlin Lambda implementation. And that's just a matter of calling select item and passing in the menu item, which we can call in Kotlin by using the it. Okay, so at this stage here, I just want to see if our navigation view is currently working. So we'll run this and try it out. Okay, so the application's now started. Now we've got the first image already being displayed. It was loading when I was recording the screen. So we'll select number 2 and number 3. They've all been preloaded by Glide. So this is now working, but what happens when we try to switch to the first image, or we try to switch to the third image? We switched to the third image, but that has not yet been updated or reflected in our bottom navigation view. It hasn't changed its notification. It still thinks it's in the first fragment. And again, if we swipe between them, there's no updates to the bottom navigation view, which is not that good. So what we need to do is to synchronize the drawer layout and the ViewPager events and update the status of the bottom navigation view. So I just want to tidy up those string values so it'll look a bit nicer. So we'll go straight into a string folder here. And I'm just going to delete first image, second image. We can just delete fragment. Okay, that's fine. Now we'll go back into our main activity. Now, because we're currently sending all our events through the ViewPager anyway, so any drawer layout, item requests, they do get redirected through the ViewPager just to keep everything synchronized. We can do the same thing for our bottom navigation view. So let's go up here, and we need to add, if we go in here, we need to add a ViewPager on-page changer listener. So I select the on-page change listener there, and we will need to implement those members. So I'm selecting main activity, I'll enter implement members and implement all of those. We don't need on-page scroll state changed. We don't need on-page scroll changed. We're going to use this one here. So I'm going to create a value just to represent the current menu item, and we're going to get that from the bottom navigation view menu, get item index, and pass in the position. So this will give us the current menu item from the ViewPager perspective, and we do need to call item ID on the end of that. Now we can check that with what the bottom ViewPager bottom navigation view thinks is the current position. So we'll call current menu item. If it's not equal to, we'll call the bottom navigation view selected item. So these two are not the same. We will need to fix them. We'll think of it as synchronizing them. So we'll select the current bottom navigation view. We'll highlight, fix the first one, and then set the existing one to false. So I'll call the bottom navigation view menu dot get item, pass in the position, and is checked, we can set that to true. And again, I'll call the bottom navigation view menu find item ID, and we can call the bottom navigation view selected item ID to get that, and we will be selecting that to false. Okay, this should fix everything there. Now we need to just add this on-page change listener to our ViewPager. So go into onCreate here, create a new line, create ViewPager, call add on-page change listener, and pass it. And it's just because we've implemented it in the activity itself, we can just call this. Okay, so let's see if our ViewPager and our drawer layout are now synchronized and do update the bottom navigation view items. So applications are now started. So let's just try swiping. It will be easier to see. Yep, we can now see we are updating our bottom navigation view items there. You can see they're being highlighted in blue. We're on third image. Let's bring out the navigation drawer, select first image. First image is now being updated, as is the second image. And that completes this episode where we implemented the bottom navigation view. And that should be the last episode of the series. So I think I said that last time with the ViewPager. So let's see. Anyway, so I think from this tutorial it demonstrated it was simple enough just to add the bottom navigation view. So if you're using that by itself, that's fine. But if you're going to be using this in conjunction with a ViewPager and or with a drawer layout, there are considerations that will have to be taken into place. In other words, you will have to synchronize and update the bottom navigation view items if you're swiping with the view page or selecting the navigation drawer items, and we demonstrated how we could do that with the ViewPager on page view change listener and readjust our bottom navigation view items. Anyway, so that completes this tutorial. If you want to get notified of my tutorials on YouTube, don't forget to click on that subscribe button, and next to that subscribe button is a little bell thing as well, and you'll probably have to select that as well. Thanks, YouTube. Anyway, so I do recommend that you just get notified, or if you listen to my Twitter feeds and my Facebook feeds, I will put my handle up there. I put all my announcements up there just in case you want to get in touch there. And I can't answer any questions on technical questions on YouTube. This is so many of them, and it does take time just to read those questions besides trying to draft an answer, and I just do not have the time available for that at all. But I do provide, if you need to really want to get in touch with me, it will have to be through a paid session. Again, I'll put the link address up in Code Mentor for that. Anyway, thank you for taking the time for watching this one. Bye for now.